question was, what about soulmates? Do you think that God has one person for us? And this is a big question that I've asked myself when I was your age a lot, and even today. So we'll try to get there. I want to answer it really simply to start. For me, yes. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. That's not a cop-out. Everyone wants to know, is there one person for me in this world? And I would say that the answer probably broadly would be not necessarily. For me, yes, and I'll tell you why. I really believe that the issue is not about just God's will for your life. It's about how much of God's will you ask for. You know, I believe that God has a best for me in everything. And as much as I'm willing to ask and to seek and to wait and to try to figure out what that is, then He'll definitely give it to me. I believe we can make a pretty strong biblical argument for that. That if you seek, you'll find. If you ask and you knock and all those things, the door will be open to you. I believe often the issue is maybe we don't find the right person because we check out of the process because it's really difficult to wait and to ask. And let's talk about what the modern culture has for us. If there is one person for you, the way that we try to figure that out in the modern culture is to go through every person we can find till we find them. And so that's what dating is. And dating is this complicated thing that I wish and hope for you that you change your standards on, because if you do everything the way the world says to do, then you have the potential to make not just mistakes, but to make heart decisions at a time in life when you would prefer to have that heart decision made on the right person. The issue is you make the heart decision in a moment that you don't know who the right person is. And odds are, if you're 13 or 14, maybe even 15, you may meet the person that God has for you. That may be the thing that happens. Usually, though, you're not going to be ready to go to the courthouse or to the church and get married at that age, And so, whenever you begin to commit yourself fully, and listen, there's a lot of adults that try to tell you that you don't know what love is. You don't know what real love feels like because you don't know what it's like to have bills and children and all that. You don't know real love. You just have this. I don't think that's true. I think for the capacity of what you have at your age right now, it feels just as real for you as it does for me who's been married for over a decade. Those emotions are raw and they're real and you feel them and your stomach hurts and you cry. And I'm talking to guys and girls. Those are the feelings that you have. And so we'd be dumb to suppress that and say that that doesn't exist and that's just stupid. Those things are real. And that's why I want you to be careful with those things. Does God have a person for you? If you ask Him, yes. I believe that He does. I believe that that's true biblically. If you think about Abraham, and Abraham has this son Isaac, and Isaac is supposed to be the one that the great nation of Israel that's going to bless the whole world and be a people greater than the number of the stars and the sand and all that is going to come from, and he's single. And so God just, apparently Abraham just doesn't go, well, I hope he just dates around and finds someone. Like Abraham went through this process. I'm going to ask God. I believe God has someone for Isaac. I'm going to send my servant, and we're going to go to this other land. And the servant goes, and he continues to ask God. And they come to this well. Maybe you've heard this story before. They come to this well, and he says, God, may the one that Isaac is supposed to marry, may she walk up and offer to water our camels. May she offer me a drink first, or if I ask her for a drink, then may she also offer to water our camels. First girl that walked up, it's a girl named Rebecca. He says, can I have a drink of water? Sure. You mean water your camels too? Boom. He starts breaking out. You girls would love this. He starts breaking out all kinds of gold because these people are rich. Like Abraham is rich. He starts just lavishing all this jewelry upon her. She's like, cha-ching, And it turns out that she was also of the same faith and that they actually were, I know it sounds weird, but in those days, the world's a lot smaller. They were distant cousins, which was a good thing. Okay, it's different than today, and so because they were of similar, family attributes and values, and so that was it, man. There was no dating involved in that particular thing. Like she said yes, he asked for Isaac, she said yes. She loaded up with all the treasure, and she got on a camel. And she went across the desert back to where Isaac was. Isaac's out working in the field, sees her from afar off. Literally, he comes in, they get married, and they go into the tent together, and they're married for the rest of their life. Like, that was it. Yeah. So It's a different kind of thing than dating, and that makes you kind of nervous probably to think about that, but that's the way that it worked biblically. And so, yes, I do believe that God has someone for you. I also believe you can make mistakes and God can adjust. And let's be real clear about that, because some of us then will get to a point in life where we question whether or not we found the right one. And that's a hard thing. Here's the thing about God that's so great. You can keep asking. Not for another one, but for God to infiltrate the relationship that you're in. And He will. Now, if you're dating and feel like you're with the wrong one, then you don't need to be asking God as much as you need to be taking action as well as asking God. If you sit around in a dating relationship continually asking God to make them the right one, you haven't put the ring in your finger yet. So, you still have a choice at that point to make some other decisions. So, does that answer your question? All right. And yes, some people will remain single. The Bible says that. But if here's my theory about the singleness thing. If you're one of the people who's supposed to remain single, you'll know it. Like, you'll be okay with it. I just, some guys have sat in my office, and girls, and especially guys, though, who are like made for marriage, and they're always upset, and, oh man, and I want, they were too serious, It's like they're going to be the best husbands in the world, but they really freak girls out when they're dating because they're always like trying to commit too much, They're like, whoa, easy there, killer. And what I always tell them is, they go, man, I'm just supposed to be single forever. And I go, man, I just don't see that, I just think it's not the right time. I think the person who's supposed to be single forever will know it and be comfortable with it, and that'll be something that they'll be okay with. So, great question.